Top of the evening to you. Whoa, what was that? We've got a little storm rolling in. So, well, today I am working on, other than the Sonoma, I got the Ospo and my resin to fill in that hole, and I got over half of it cleaned all up. I still got to get that trim off to get underneath of that and run some wires and blah blah blah. But leads me to my next adventure, failure, success, who knows. But so what I got to do, I've got till August. I've got to get these wheels stripped. I don't have access to the stripper at the moment, or a stripper. Kind of working on that, but once I get them stripped, that'll be pretty much over half the battle. So I have this oven. Needs a little cleaning, but it works. This is actually heavy, I should say sturdy enough to hold a wheel. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out. I'm going to make a kind of a dolly, if you will. This oven was given to me. I didn't want to throw it away. It's going to come in handy in a pinch. I'm glad I saved it. I might run a vacuum in there or something. I don't really think it's that important for what I'm doing. But key to what I got to do is I need to make kind of like a little dolly to go in here. So what I'm going to do is cut some of this right here. This should be long enough to support the wheel without it tipping over. And I'm going to see, if not, and get another piece. It's not a big deal. Just using what I have available. But what I'm going to do is make a little, kind of a little dolly, if you will, to go in here. One on this side, one on that side. Then use some square tubing and come up. It's going to almost be like a gantry crane. And I was at the parts store today getting the Ospo and fiberglass repair kit, and I walked by and I was like, I saw these wheels. They're all metal. There's no rubber, nothing that can melt in the oven. So I was having a thought of the little kind of what I could call like a little miniature gantry crane for the wheel. Scooting it in there might be a challenge because the oven's got to be preheated. Yeah, I'm going to take it outside and clean all that off, but it's got to be preheated. So 400, 420 degrees, give or take, whatever. That gets kind of hot. And so when you reach in there with your hand, it's no different than pulling out a dish that's hot. So you kind of got to figure out a way to kind of swing it in there, but you can't go too hard because I think you'll end up knocking powder off, or you run the risk of knocking powder off or whatever, touching it. So found these wheels. I'm going to put these wheels on this like this, drill holes, mount them, flip it over. I'm trying to hold the phone so I can't mock it up so much, but wheels underneath here like so, like that. Then I'm going to put that square tubing here with some angle brackets. I could weld it. My welding sucks, but it'll be all right. So now I'm going to come up like that. Might be better if I show you out here. So this is going to be like so. like that. Angle tubing, pretend this is a piece of angle tubing. That's going to come up like that. Now I'm going to cut this piece here to run across it. Now to hold the wheel, of course, you know, I wouldn't recommend doing wheels this way. You can't. It's always better if you got an oven big enough to do all 4 of them at a time. It's less chance of, you know, smudging something, bumping into something, whatever. But we got to do what we got to do because this is a very, very important project. So I'm getting ready to get my little saw over there set up before it starts raining. I'm going to cut this same size as that one. Of course, that's going to sit there, wheels on it. And then this is, like I said, this one's going to come across the top. I don't know if you can really kind of see what I'm doing. You'll see when I'm done. So how's the wheel going to attach? Well, I'm going to drill a hole, center, and put a piece of all thread in it. Nut on top, and nut on top, piece of all thread, and underneath here I'll have another piece of this, maybe something like that big, just to hold it. Yeah, it'd be nice if you could hook it somewhere and just kind of get the whole wheel and stuff, but it's the face of the wheel, not the face, but the back of it where it mounts to the drum or rotor or whatever. I mean, that tends to get marred up anyway. So these are not going on a vehicle. This is for a very, very special project coming up in August. So, but anyway, little piece of metal under here, all thread here, and then it'll levitate. So then I can actually put the entire wheel on some sawhorses with the powder coat gun and crawl it, kind of go up underneath there. And I can get the entire wheel all at once. So, because doing them in an oven like this, you'd have to do the backside maybe first, and then flip it over so you can get the face, so the face isn't marred up, and then it ends up looking like a Krabby Patty on the bottom, because, you know, you just don't have the room to work it to where you could just put a hook in something, or even hang it from, you know, a metal or a bolt or something in here, or whatever, to where, you know, you don't see any of the work and whatnot. But we're gonna do what we got to do, and that is what it is. But yeah, that'll work just fine. It'll kind of let it dangle, and then, like I said, I can just set it on my sawhorse, and I can go up underneath there and get the backside. It'll just be a little, you know, square that I can't get. So what I'll do to remedy that is whatever powder's on the kind of like little back face there, the back side of it, I'll just take that off and then polish the back side of it. And because what's going, you're not going to see the underneath, obviously, but you still want to kind of look like you meant to do what you did. You don't want to look like you know, it's all about trying to figure it out and trying to make it look decent and presentable, because what it's going to be is the base of a bar stool I'm making, and, you know, it really isn't going to matter, but you still want it to look uniformed anyway. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean, you know, you don't want it to be so sketchy. But like I said, there's no reason. Yeah, you could. Who knows? Maybe I can market them and sell them. Who knows? But I don't see the need to take any of this and sandblast it or paint it, whatever. I mean, you know, it's going to come off in the oven anyway. So don't see the need for all of that. It's going to get hot and all that too. So right now, like I said, we got a storm about to blow in, so I want to get these pieces cut, and that way I can take it to my shop while it's thundering and lightning, and drill the holes, mount the wheels, and put the studs and whatnot on it. Yeah, if I had a decent welder, I would give it a shot to weld what I was talking about rather than, I mean, these are just your little, was it Simpson? Yeah, Simpson little L brackets. I mean, you know, it don't have to be, these are like 99 cents a piece or $1 or something a piece. I forgot, but either way, that's all we need right there, you know. Same thing on the bottom here. Like I said, that'll hold that up and hopefully get what we need. So I don't have my gimbal with me, so I'll just do my cuts and do some kind of mock it up, let you see what I'm doing, and show you at the very end what it's going to look like. Alright, so as you see, all I'm doing now is, sorry if the camera's kind of bouncing. Anyway, so now I'm just going to mark some holes, some spots to drill a hole, I should say, and you can pretty much eyeball what's going on there. You don't really have to get out all of your instruments and whatnot. Well, of course, I'll clean up little edges and stuff when I get it done, but it'll work for what I want, I think. We'll find out here in a little bit. Okay, so now you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. Put a little L bracket here, one there, then the all thread down. Then I can kind of screw and bring the all thread up or down as I choose. Of course, I've got to be about right here, I think, with the wheel, give or take. That way it's even between the elements in the oven. But I think that'll get it. That'll work, hopefully. Yeah, like I said, I'll come up with some kind of design here, just like maybe another piece of tubing, kind of like a, you know, like you're putting a heavy pizza in the oven. Hopefully that'll work, and scoot it on in there with no issues. So there it is, pretty much. Like I said, just slide that on through here. Figure out exactly how I want to attach it from here to the top, to where I can adjust the wheel, give or take. Figure that out, and that'll about get it. I think I want to do like maybe a handle here and a handle here, something I can like detach kind of quick. That way I can, like I said, pick it up, slide it on in, and if I can work the camera and put this in at the same time, and that's what it'll be. I got hung up here when I first tried to slide it in because I'm trying to hold the phone and pay attention and see, make sure I'm recording correctly, all that good stuff. Anyway, there it is. That'll work for that. Just have to find a way to attach the wheel. All right, so I've got, of course, this is done being made. Went to the hardware store, got me a was it Z-Max Simpson strong tie, trim those teeth off of it, then mark it and just kind of cut it out, drill some holes in the center, take this, let that hang like that, and then that will cause the wheel to raise up where I want it, and that'll be good for this project. Still trying to figure out what I want to do for some handles, but I want to get the wheel hung first and just kind of feel the weight of it. I mean, their aluminum wheels are not very heavy, heavier than some aluminum wheels, but not super terrible. This is kind of a one-off thing for this project. I've got to get this done before August, and if it works out well, then maybe I'll figure out some handles or something, so like I said before, I can shove it in the oven like a big giant pizza. So let me get that cut and some holes drilled and see how that goes. Okay, so I think this is it. I will have to put just a regular nut here because that's too tall for the oven. That way I can run the thread down just a touch more, because it does kind of excuse me, it is kind of close to that element there. Of course, I just threw the bolts on here just to kind of figure it out. I'll more than likely be using studs with actual lug nuts, because I'm gonna, you know, grind that down anyway once I get it powder coated, especially for the project that I'm doing. So that will be fine. I just did this right here, put some nuts in it to kind of give it a, just so you can see what I'm doing. As you see, that raises it off the ground, and I can put this apparatus on sawhorses and get underneath there with the gun and the face and all that, and so that'll work. But like I said, I just threw these on here for right now, just to kind of give you an idea, kind of give myself an idea. So as you see, you can move it around. The weight really isn't too bad, like I said, but I don't know if you'll see, I'm trying to hold the camera and everything, but as you see, and I can raise the wheel up, of course, to you know, make sure it's even in the oven. Sorry if I didn't catch all that good with the camera, but I'm a one-man show. But anyway, I think that'll do what I need to do. Will, like I said, you see how close that is. Of course, putting it in here like this doesn't matter because there's no powder on it. You're not really worried about if you're knocking it around too much or anything like that. But this will work. This will definitely work. And I'll definitely put some handles on it somewhere. I'm not sure where I want them. I don't know if I really want them at the top, because then you're moving it around, something could kind of fall or something like that. More than likely, I'll probably try and put them here, somewhere around there, something like that. And like I said, just kind of shove the whole thing in. But that's it. Then, of course, fire up. Excuse me. So at some point, like I said, I've got to get these two wheels done. So that's kind of why I'm kind of scrambling and kind of just throwing something together. It seems like it'll work pretty good. I may use this is all I had here at my shop at the moment. I may use a bigger piece of all thread, something that, you know, with a nice, you know, big round washer on top. That way it's kind of not doing that as much maybe. But like I said, that's not really bad, but you don't want it to move a lot. I'm sure, you know, you can run the risk of bending it and all that stuff, but it doesn't have to be perfect. As you see, there's room to get around. I might have made this a little too long. It might not be perfectly square, but I believe the oven is kind of made that way from what I've measured. But that's not a big deal. But anyway, I can always move the legs in a little bit. You know, we're not married to anything here. So that's it. Powder coat dolly, mini gantry crane, blah. Let me start over. Mini dolly, mini gantry crane to get into a basic conventional oven to do a wheel. This wheel is 16 inches, so I'm happy with that. Hopefully I can get me some chemical to get this stuff off and be done with that, and get working on it, because August will be here before you know it. Carlisle All Truck Nationals, that's what these are going for. Special project. So, but I'm happy with it overall. Like I said, I'm going to change that nut. Actually, this piece of all thread in the wing nuts and stuff is what I had from a battery box that I had in the back of my other 93 I have, and I'm going back with just a regular battery location. So I just, you know, like I said, just kind of throwing things together, see what happens. But like I said, you know, you can slide it in and out, in and out. I mean, I could file that down, that little hump there, and maybe just beat it down to where it's a nice smooth transition, you know, give it a threshold here, and just kind of that way it rolls right in. It's not like I'm going to be cooking food in here or anything like that. As long as the door shuts nice, keeps the heat in and all that stuff, not a fire hazard. But I think I showed you last time. Excuse all the messing parts, I'm still working on this. But I got my cord there that goes all the way to, it's 40 feet long. That way I don't have to be all up in the corner. And where my compressor is, I can plug it in and kind of put it out here, closer to the door, all that good stuff. I mean, I could wire up another receptacle, but it'll be all right. But yeah, so slide that on in there. And of course, right now it's easy to slide in and out, but once you have it at like 420 degrees, things are going to change. So even with a nice glove, like a welding glove, you're still kind of reaching in there fast and pulling out, and plus your hands are close to this. So you definitely don't want to burn yourself or you know, make quick movements to where something will touch, especially hot powder or anything like that, to where you know, smearing it up, making it look terrible. So yeah, I will be putting handles on it. I might sandblast it, maybe not, but you know, who knows, it doesn't matter. It's going to get heated quite a bit, so, but as long as it works for the wheel, that's all I need. So of course, like I said, you know, you reach in there and let's see, that wing nut got caught, but there it is. Thanks for watching. See you next time.